but yet there's a young 24-year-old soldier who has been the victim of what I think is fair to characterize as a preemptive prosecution because he's been the president said that he's broken the law and he hasn't even been convicted yet, and he hasn't even had a trial yet, and he also was treated very harshly when he was in Quantico Brig. In fact, that's when people really got to know who Bradley Manning was because there was such outrage at the way that he was being treated inside of Quantico. And inside the brig, one of the things that happened to him was that he was subjected to this regime inside of the Quantico brig that made it seem like, he was being treated like a Guantanamo detainee and being asked to, he was held in isolation. He was kept with other prisoners, and he also he could only exercise 1 hour a day. And in fact, at one point in his detention, and this was really when the proverbial shit hit the fan for the government, was when he said something sarcastic to one of his superiors, and the superior decided to retaliate and force him to sleep nude at night and not having clothing. And when he complained about losing his clothing at this privilege, they said, okay, well, we understand, I guess, we'll respond to the criticism that this is inhumane, but we're going to instead now make you sleep in this very uncomfortable smock that is itchy, and you can't actually wear your actual clothing while you're on this break at night. And so, they placed him on prevention of injury watch and said he had suicide risk when, in fact, there wasn't any proof at all. And in fact, the psychologists that were doing analysis on him figured out that they had, there was no evidence that he posed any sort of suicide risk. But it was all just punitive, coming from the Marines and coming from the military. And I think, part of the preemptive prosecution of Bradley Manning, trying to get him to say something about Julian Assange, trying to share whatever he could share about the WikiLeaks organization, which we know is a target that the U.S. government is going after. And this whole thing of preemptive prosecutions, which I want to talk to you briefly, and then I'd love to just take some questions and just be loose about this, because I've been covering this very extensively, and I'd love to take this wherever you want to go in the time that I have up here to speak. With the NATO 5 now, with 5 people who are charged with terrorism charges for coming here to protest, it's very interesting to look at this new trend in the way that maybe it's not altogether new. It's just maybe COINTELPRO coming back, but this is very deliberate what is going on now with the way that they are entrapping people or using infiltrators to go after. There's actually an element, this kind of errs into conspiracy sort of, but there is some factual basis to what happened with Bradley Manning in the sense that you can draw a parallel to these cases where there are infiltrators that are being used to get people, because Adrian Lamo is a hacker who turned Bradley Manning into the authorities, and there's a set of chat logs that Wired magazine released, and this is actually where people get most of what they know about Bradley Manning. And it's one of the few ways that we can get some insight into the motivation for why he released the information, allegedly. And Adrian Lamo turned Bradley Manning in on the second day of the chat logs, but he came back and chatted with Bradley Manning about things that, would incriminate him, and proceeded to do this for the next 2 or 3 days, actually trying to get him to talk about the cables, to talk about different sets of information so that he could have this in the record to be used against Bradley Manning in the trial. And it's been suggested that perhaps he was put up to doing that by the government, although they've been very good at sticking to a script in court and making sure that they don't reveal their cards if that was in fact the game that was being played. And So, preemptive prosecution is something that's been happening in this country since at least, 2001. They ramped it up with Muslims, and they ramped it up around people who were imams of mosques, and they have, as the years have progressed in the post 9/11 era, they've really manipulated the population on the basis of the fact that everyone is very scared of terrorism. And now these cases that used to be thrown out in the 70s, when you would send an infiltrator into a group and you would try to get people to commit crimes, now in this present day, there hasn't been a jury that has thrown out a terror indictment in the post 9/11 world that we live in. So you're just not going to find a jury. Even if you see people that have been actually set up, they're not going to do anything, and they're not going to side with the people who became victimized in these plots as they were set up. And so, what I want to talk about here is that the three individuals that have been charged with terrorism first, the case is very interesting because what happened, let me reveal the story. This has been unfolding here as the summit approached, and more details have been coming out, but there were 11 people who were staying in this apartment at 32nd and Morgan on the south side, and they were raided at about midnight on Wednesday, and the police came and they arrested 9 people. 2 people were taken away. They are the people that the NLG believes to be the informants, and their names are Mo and Gloves. And these people who were taken away in unmarked police cars. They were disappeared in the United States of America. These people were disappeared. They were off the grid. Nobody knew where they were at. The attorneys had no way of finding them. The people who knew that there were a group of 11 activists staying in this apartment had no way of getting to them. The person who leased the apartment and offered the place to stay was outraged and had no idea where these people were at. And then it took till about Thursday when a couple people were released. They were moved from the organized crime division to District 4 in Kedzie and Homan, and 2 people were, they had released 4 people, and one of them actually blogged at Fire Dog Lake, and he's part of the MyFDL community, and his name is, he blogs under Tar Heel Dem, and he still hasn't gotten his gear back, his netbook. He didn't get his driver's license back, and so they released a set of people, and then they released 2 people on Thursday night, I think I'm going to botch the timeline. They released people on Friday, and early in the morning on Saturday at 2 a.m., we get this message from Occupy Chicago that they have charged these 3 men with material support for terrorism, with conspiracy and furtherance of terrorism, and with some other charge that it was related, I think it had to do with having incendiary explosives. And I knew that this was bogus because I had actually talked to 2 of the people who had been released, who had just gotten out of jail on Friday. I went down to the jail. I know the journalist Steve Horn. I went down where we were interviewing these people, and what happened is, the police came into this apartment. They had their guns drawn. We're finding out from the lawyer that if there were materials in there, because the media is going crazy and repeatedly, over and over again saying that there were Molotov cocktails. It's like a crazy buzzword that they seize on and makes them, crazy. And then what happened is they had actually tried to get the people to buy into a scheme. So this is essentially worse than entrapment. They tried to get them to buy into a scheme and to do the sort of things that we've heard about where, they've gotten terrorists, so-called terrorists to go, blow up a Christmas tree in Portland, or to go and set off some explosives like the Newburgh Ford did in New York, or allegedly were going to do. Or, even like with the Cleveland Five that were gonna supposedly blow up some bridge around May Day. But they wouldn't even buy into the plot. So what ended up happening is the infiltrators just left the materials in the house, in the apartment, so that when they were raided, they would just find the materials and they would be there. So these people who were taken away, these 9 people, were made to like snitch and falsely confess against each other, and they weren't doing it. And so that's why they were being released like in sets. And then it seems like they whittled it down to these 3 people that they could really get. And what you really need to know about cases like this is that they always have a similarity, that the people who are being targeted are very vulnerable people. I mean, we're talking about Muslims that get targeted, we're talking about anarchists, of course, like that's 2 sets of people in this country that are very easy to target when people think of as boogeymen. I would find it very interesting that like Black Bloc is a tactic and terrorism is a tactic, and now the whole entire national security state seems to be at war against these things that they're never going to ever be able to defeat. And um, and so I'll close with this anecdote, which is that one of the people who was arrested and is now released and there were no charges, he walked to CVS when he got in from Gary, Indiana. He had only been here for 45 minutes, and he wasn't in the apartment when it was raided. And he headed over to CVS. He wanted to get some beer, and then the police tracked him somehow, knew that he belonged to the apartment, and came to CVS. CVS closed down so that the police could make this arrest. And then as he was being arrested, CVS just magically reopened. And there was like nothing ever happened as far as CVS was concerned. So,
If I could add something really quickly. I happened to be at the court house when they were supposed to be released, and we ended up doing the interview with the lawyer, one of the lawyers from the NLG. And those 3 individuals that happened to be the only 3 that ended up being charged are the same 3 from last week's YouTube video in which they were pulled over and accosted by the police. And at the very end, the police did say, we'll see you in NATO. So I just thought that was a very interesting twist. Yeah, wild coincidence, I'm sure.
Well, they also were in the police march in Bridgeport on Tuesday night. All of the people who were arrested participated in the big anti-police march. And I mean, that was something I picked up. Knowing this guy, Tar Heel Dem, who was an FDL blogger, he told me on Wednesday night before the raid, basically 2 or 3 hours before, that he was staying with these people who were in this video, and he was sort of terrified. He thought that the apartment could be raided, and it was raided.
Yeah.
We have a question over here.
Yeah, well, I think you guys know about that blog, the Second City Cops blog. Have you seen that? Where it's a retired police officer. And it actually, if you go back, I copied like 5 pages of this stuff. But they, on May 9th, when you're talking, the last paragraph in that section says, have any of you guys found out where the protesters are living, or staying? Because, I mean, they were actively, I guess, trying to locate where all the different occupiers were staying. For that purpose, for harassment.
Well, what's interesting is that it seems that the police have been trying to, they're not just raiding people's homes, they're trying to create the predicate to raid people's homes in the past few days instead of just like outright raiding. So, for example, I haven't totally been able to confirm this report, but it seems reliable at this point. And the police came to this home and suggested that there was a gas leak going on in the home. There's no gas line connected to the home. So they were interested in this issue, and then they leave, and then they come back with a bunch of police and the fire marshals, and they're using this gas leak as a predicate to get into the home, and raid the people the activists that were in the home. And the NLG actually said that this is something that the police are doing so that they can, you know, get away with rounding up people, I guess.
I think it was perfect from police standpoint to discourage people to go to the rally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty intimidating. And then the other aspect that is totally intimidating is how, you know, these people who have been accused of terrorism were, you know, just activists. And it's sort of, you know, one of the things I think people might end up asking themselves is, who are the people that they're out marching with? Because, you know, I'm sure a lot of people have different misdemeanors in their background, and that's just that's just the reality of organizing. But this is very manipulative because the media, one of the, you know, and the prosecutors, one of the things that they're really pumping to make people believe that there was a terrorist attack that was going to be committed against the NATO summit is by saying that they have history of criminal backgrounds. But they don't actually say in all cases, they don't actually say why they have felonies or why they have misdemeanors. And you do realize that if you protest, you can get charged with felonies and misdemeanors. So it's possible that these, like assault on an officer and these other charges are all related to activism and being involved. And just recently, the NLG just put out a report, I'm going to share this with you all on here, is that this independent journalist from Occupy Pittsburgh, his name is Taylor Hall, he's actually now been charged with assaulting a police officer and faces a felony charge, and he has quite a history of being picked up and arrested, and so here in Chicago, he came to the NATO summit, and now he's got like a $250,000 bond. I mean, and the other thing that they do, the bond is just ridiculous. Like for the NATO 3, the prosecutors wanted $5 million for the bond, and the judge had them reduce it to 1.5 million. But of course, that's, you know, nobody has the resources for that. I mean, Illinois law requires you to 10%, you have to raise 10%. And so the lawyers are saying, like, we're going to have to get a proper bond hearing. And the one thing that is really clear is, and you can drag this, you can extend this to Bradley Manning, you can extend this to anybody who's been the victim of a preemptive prosecution, is that as long as there's a pretext for the prosecution, they can get away with anything. So, you know, right now they can basically run roughshod over people because the NATO summit is here. Afterward, it sort of fades a little bit, but everyone would still be a little, you know, they'd be accepting of this idea that you have to protect the military generals and the politicians that came to town. And so they would still, maybe in retrospect, say, I guess it's okay that, you know, these people weren't read their rights and they were detained and held without charge for almost 48 hours. There were these couple people, these latest terror charges, they were held for like 66 and 68 hours without being charged, which is a blatant violation. And then, you know, what happened with Tim and Luke and live streamers. I mean, you didn't talk about the story with Cordiasm and Ghost Pickles and them having their car impounded. The live streamers, you know, another set of live streamers actually lost their car. It's been impounded by the police, and you know, what are they going to do? And then later on, they don't have a vehicle, and they're waiting for somebody to pick them up, and the police come by and stop them again. It's just blatant. And they don't have to give a reason. That's and all of this is illegal. I mean, sorry, all of this is legal. I mean, it seems illegal, it feels illegal, but what's really scary is that they've found a way to make this seem legal. They've actually taken things that 10 or 20 years ago would have been unacceptable and found a way to, you know, find these different loopholes. Like the material support for terrorism charge is a very like blatant whenever you see material support for terrorism, that is a sign that somebody's First Amendment rights are being violated. It's just, I mean, there's 23 activists here in Chicago who were subpoenaed to appear before a grand jury and have been under an FBI investigation. And what the prosecutor is trying to get them on is material support for terrorism. And it's all because they visited Palestine. And it's all because they organized with trade unionists and went to Colombia. And they also all were part of the working group that organized against the Republican National Convention in 2008. And there was an infiltrator in that case, and her name was Karen Sullivan, and she made up stories and anything and tried to get them to do illegal stuff, and it was kooky. And the infiltrators are always infinitely more unstable than the people who are being charged with terrorism. That's almost always the case.
We like to say online that it's often hard to tell the feds and the crazies and the spies and the trolls apart.
Oh, yeah. Some feds are crazy trolls.
If anybody has any more questions, I think that's good. Thank you.
Sue just walked out, unfortunately. Who's the final speaker?
Tim and or Luke, which are both still streaming right now. So what I'm gonna do is try to pull them up on the screen.
Yeah, let's look at their streams. That'll be fun.
That'll be awesome.
Last time I heard they were still
I'm these and we should not bring any cards.
Oh, yeah, that's free. We can look up their information, I'm sure. But, later. Streaming right now.
Wait, Carry for Truth?
Carry Faux Truth, yeah. Name's Faux Change.
Pete wears pants.
Oh, what was that?
Pete wears pants.
Pete wears pants. Okay.
I don't actually tweet a lot.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Tim Wolf was supposed to talk. He may be coming, I don't know. He's at a protest. Just winding down. Jeff? Hey, Jeff, could you show some of, I was gonna show some of Luke's videos.
I'm gonna try to find it.
Okay, yeah, the one I wanted to show was it's called National Geographic Expose. Okay. The other one's called Men in Black Trailer. And then the one about Joelle.
Oh, the Men in Black trailer is awesome. I've seen that one.
Luke Rudkowski is with, he started this group called We Are Change, and he is a live streamer, but he also makes really cool short films, short videos that touch on important topics. So if Jeff can do that, we'll have
Actually made some long films too.
And Luke might be showing up too. He's also at the protest. He had been kind of.
All right.
All right. What? He had been pedaled, but I think he's out.
There is only one place that the great Lombardo resides, in the concrete jungle of New York City. We bring you immediately to his natural habitat, where a standoff is taking place between Lombardos and the Zacotis, a rising wandering tribe. The sleeping Zacoti nest is startled by the Lombardo's presence. In situations of danger, the Zacotis deploy scouts to assess threats to the nest. They are highly skilled in the art form of stealth and are rarely detected. The scout comes within mere feet of the Lombardo, but then disappears quickly. It is a historical moment, as the legendary Zacoti scout has never been caught on tape. Startled by the presence of the Zacoti scout, the Lombardo deploys his very own scout, armed with the latest visual technology. Even with enhanced eyesight and the skill to zoom in tenfold, the Lombardo still cannot track the Zacoti scout. The Lombardo approaches a male Zacoti, known within the commune as Mustache. He is not aware that the Lombardos are easily agitated by bright lights. This is confirmed as the Lombardo's blinking rate reaches max velocity. The repeated flapping signals breach of his territory, and readiness to attack. Satisfied that the message has been delivered, he retreats, resuming his resting position, with hands squarely on his waistline. A job well done by the Lombardo. Late that evening, Mustache escaped to the local shipping hole, known to the Zacatis as the Golden Arches. Danger unknowingly lurks behind Mustache as Lombardo relentlessly stalks his prey with extraordinary patience. The Lombardo remains at a striking distance of 5 meters. With each step taken by his prey, he advances. Among all the tactics in a Lombardo's arsenal, intimidation reigns supreme. With agility and absolute concentration, he goes after his next victim, spewing his venom, paralyzing the Zacati with fear.
You're gonna go away. You understand that? I'm gonna keep you. You're too candies. You're gonna accept the deal, or you go away. I'm gonna shoot yourself in the fucking face tonight. I'm gonna find 20 fucking reasons to put you in jail, okay? Yes, sir. Be an asshole. Yes, sir.
The wandering Zacatis have migrated north to Union Square, seeking refuge from the Lombardos. One of the men, tired from the long journey, decides to take rest. But in the jungle of New York City, there is no rest for Lombardo nor Zacati. This rest is a sign of weakness, and Lombardo takes decisive action against the exhausted tribesman. Such an easy target for a well-trained predator. Continuing the blitzkrieg of assaults, the Lombardo targets the Zacati supplies possessed by the harvest reindeer. The actors attempt to stop the Zacatis and drive them from the new home. What have we learned from today's discovery? Lombardo's weaknesses include cannons, lights, and a sense of humor. Be very careful if you approach this wild creature in the jungle of New York City. And be sure to come prepared with adequate lighting and cameras to scare the Lombardo's way home. With their population spreading like wildfire, you may never know when you will run into a Lombardo.
Woo! Yeah!
What was the name of the other one?
Oh, it was the MIB trailer. It might be spelled. There we go.
Verbally, enemy combatant low-life scumbag terrorists. There's always an Agent Smith douchebag watching and waiting. When you see something suspicious, but you don't want to get involved, it's not your thing. Can you be sure? If you see something, say something. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. Do you believe in the Second Amendment? Do you have a missing finger or burn marks? Okay. Do you have at least 7 days of stored food in your house? Yes. Do you ever use cash to purchase things like a hotel room? Alright. Do you have a flashlight or other precarious materials in your home? Good. Do you support or defend the U.S. Constitution? Do you question the official version of events that our government brought to us about the 9/11 attacks? Yes. Absolutely not. Okay. Alright, we have a special sticker for you. You gotta wear that at all times. Put that on there. Alright, don't take off the sticker. It has a ID sticker there. Just gotta hang it wherever you go. Oh no, don't worry about it. You just have to wear that at all times. It's for your safety. We're watching out for you. Government knows everything. Just put that on here. Think you win a sticker automatically. Don't worry about it. Just wear it all the time. And yeah, thank you. Let me just put it on there right here. There you go. If you say yes to any of these questions, you are a possible domestic terrorist. According to FBI documents, police manuals, even public service announcements made by our government. Which means under the NDAA that Obama passed, you could be indefinitely detained, tortured, murdered on American soil as an American citizen without due process of law, without any lawyers, without any judges. And what we're trying to do is bring awareness to this issue. Everybody is pretty much a terrorist based on these things. So we need your ID. Trigger safety.
All right, we're good. Now, showing anything?
Hey, Jess.
All right, hey, thanks, hey,
I'm trying to bring up Luke's stream right now.
oh, okay, go. Oh, great. All right, you guys in the mood? Oh, you are trying to bring up this actual stream? Yeah.
Yeah, it's live stream or it's Ustream. So we're still live at the World Indie Media event. Tim Pool, and Luke We Are Change, Luke Rudowski, are both still MIA. They were supposed to be speakers here, but they are streaming right now. I guess they got caught in another march, another protest. So Jeff Shively Jarafa is trying to pull up Tim's stream so we can watch it and see what they're up to and see if we can talk to them that way. There's Tim.
Advanced tenfold, striking many people. I saw 2 people who were bleeding from the head profusely. One who was bleeding just, well, he had blood on his face coming from his head. So, a lot of injuries. The group was split up to the north and south. And then about an hour, maybe a little bit later, I talked with everyone at Congress in Michigan, where this march currently is. So many people have left. And that's where we're at right now. So, TIMCAST. My name is Tim Pool, no E, P-O-O-L. And you can find my Facebook page by going to timcast.net. It'll be right there. And if you want to help me out with donations, just go to WePay.com/donate/TimcastTV. And, yep. So again, it's WePay.com/donate/TimcastTV. And it's just below the video player at Timcast, so that, helps me keep going. I'm not funded or paid by anyone in particular, just small donors through donations to keep me going. So thank you all so much, and have a good night, and you'll hear from me tomorrow.
All right, awesome. Bye, Tim. Is Luke still streaming?
Yeah, let me check them.
All right. So that was a pretty crazy story we heard earlier about the arrest of Jeff and Tim and Luke and others. It's really scary. I'm glad that they're all out and okay. He helped lighten the mood when we were kettled earlier today.
How did that end?
Very well. You can see it on my stream. I was the last one there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the last 15 held their ground and they sat down and some of them meditated and some of them just talked to each other and eventually the police backed off. But there was only 15 left.
The police eventually just left.
Eventually they left the 15 sitting there. The only people left were pretty much indie media and like one mainstream media and then the 15. And I mean, eventually they just lined up and marched out. And I was like, all right, well, that's a happy ending. I went up and congratulated them all and said, how proud everybody online was. And then I was like, all right, I was going to turn off my stream. And then I looked behind me and there's like 1,000 police officers. I was like, actually, you guys are going to hang out with me while I walk to this. So, yeah. Quite the similar scene as today, if you guys were watching earlier.
March for peacemakers, no war makers. March for peacemakers, no war makers. March for peacemakers, no war makers. Blessed be the peacemakers.
It's a really short cop.
I think it's a woman too. So
But she's
this
also
very
just
small, yeah. Yeah. So this is Luke's Luke We Are Change. This is his stream right now that we're watching. And this is a standoff that's downtown right now in Chicago where we are. And this is why Luke and Tim are both not giving their presentations here at the World Indie Media event. They are very dedicated, like a lot of us are, but especially they fit into that special pool of extra dedicated streamers, I think. That's what makes them so great. Even on the clear feeds with the iPhone, there's some issues sometimes. I know I had lots of technical problems today, so I appreciate all the viewers, all you guys that stuck by me today through my heat exhaustion and everything else. Yes, we do need jail support. Dave O from the Radical Caucus was arrested earlier today, so we do need that. I'm going to be tweeting and Facebooking for him when I get out of this meeting. So as soon as I'm done here, Dave O, O-H, from the Radical Caucus was arrested, and he will need bail and possibly jail support if charges are levied against him. But he is being held right now, currently, and we haven't gotten much update other than we know for a fact he was arrested. So Mike Blue Hair is okay, and everyone else from the Radical Caucus is okay. And as far as we know, everyone from Portland, besides that, is all right. But Davo was arrested. Yes, I believe we do have his full info. I would have to go back to where I'm staying and talk to other members like Ben of the Radical Caucus. Thank you. So I will have to talk to them to get his full info, but I will go ahead and post that on Facebook if it isn't already up there. So yeah, once I get back to the house, it's been constant today, from like 10 in the morning on, which doesn't seem very early, but it is when you go to bed at 4 in the morning or 5. So it's just been go, go, go. So once this event is over, this event's about to wrap up, I will go ahead and post that stuff on Facebook and on Twitter for you guys. If you're not following me, it's at Carrie, Carrie, Faux, F-O, Truth. So Carrie Faux Truth. And I will tweet out that info. And if you guys can help out in any way, even just a few dollars, I'm sure it would be really, really helpful. I think the Radical Caucus is making him a WePay right now. So, and if they haven't, by the time I get home, I'll help them out and do that. So, yeah, thank you guys for asking about it. It's definitely a concern when stuff like this happens. There were many arrests today. I'm not sure how many, but a lot more than yesterday, I think. And I think the count this morning, I don't know if it was accurate, but I heard that there had only been 19 arrests this morning. So, God, it just seems too good to be true, this morning. I don't know if that was an accurate number, but if it was. But today there were more arrests, and they definitely just the level of violence I've never seen. I was a participant in the anti-war protests in Portland in, I don't know, 2000, whenever that was, 2003, 2004, and I've been to the Occupy Congress, Occupy the Supreme Court. Definitely seen a lot of stuff, and this was on par with certain scenes from Oakland. I mean, minus the tear gas. I've never seen so much. I was surprised because Portland police tend to ramp up their level of violence slowly, and it tends to start with pepper spray, and then pushing and hitting people, and then maybe threats of tear gas and that sort of thing, and then using bicycles and that sort of thing maybe comes, I don't know, before the tear gas would. But here they definitely just went straight to hitting people, and there was no warning. When it happened near me, they just marched in, and then just the screams of medic. And it was just terrifying, and the whole crowd panicked. And hopefully all of my streams actually went up today. So awesome. Yeah, I know Orange Block does have a WePay going for bail. So if those funds are available for Davo, that would be amazing. So 312, okay, so that's local. 312-744-5983 is the number for the jail, I'm assuming. Okay. Yeah, Belmont and Western, I've heard that as well, that there's multiple police stations in the area, and I also heard that he was being held at Belmont and Western, or that everyone was that was arrested today, which on the one hand, it does mean that there were not, mass arrests. They didn't take down, 400, 600 people at a time, yet. We are watching another standoff. unfold, but I don't think that many people are involved. I'm not sure though. I haven't seen a crowd estimate for this standoff that's going on right now. And I'm hearing surprisingly little, well, no, narration from. There we go.
Once it catches it and it's going live, it's going to keep recording until that stream drops off and goes down, and then it'll save the file. Okay, so I was able to open up multiple tabs, Luke, Tim, whatever, multiple tabs up at the same time.
So yeah, I'm just not hearing too much narration from Luke. I know it's hard to do when you are, I mean, it looks like he is in between the police and the protesters, and so you have to be careful what you say and how loudly, and you also don't want, to be a victim of violence yourself. So, yeah, we definitely were being pushed around and hit. 45 arrests from CNN. Thank you. Okay, that's good to know. That's fewer than I had anticipated, but yeah. All right. Well, it looks like the event is wrapping up here. So in the interest of getting stuff done, which I like to do, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you for watching, and yeah, I hope to see everybody at home safe and sound. I have a 48-hour bus trip ahead of me starting tomorrow night. Not looking forward to that. It's hell. But yeah, I appreciate everything, and I will be attending some actions tomorrow. I haven't decided. I haven't made the final decision on that, but I will put up something on the stream so you guys know, a little bit of my plan. A loose plan, obviously. Things can change very quickly around here. So hopefully I stay safe and sound until I can hop the bus tomorrow night. And I love you guys all. Thank you for watching so much, and thanks for supporting and tweeting. And if you can find it in your hearts and wallets, please donate to my WePay. And if you want more, Occupy-related news and indie media news, and I'm a foodie, so I throw in some sustainability and food news as well. You can follow me on Twitter. That's at CarrieFoTruth, CarrieFoTruth. All right, thank you guys again, and I will see you later.